Jamie Josta from Hatebreed, Kingdom of Sorrow, Josta. I run Hatewear. I got my label. I do a bunch of different stuff. I did a little bit in 06, jiu-jitsu with this guy, Cesar Cabrera. We had him come on the whole tour, and I was like, man, I can't be sore on stage, like just, punished, staph infections, all, dudes sweating on me. I'm like, those guys get paid to do this. I get paid to rock out. But right now I do a little bit of kickboxing at home, and even that, it kills me. I'm 36 now, and I say all that training and MMA stuff that's a young man's sport. In your 20s, have fun. I don't want to get hit in the face. I want to keep it nice. But God bless. I never met Mark, but he's always an interesting interview and an interesting read, and I've seen some great events. I've done, who have I had up there? I think I had Shane Nelson I sponsored in a fight. I had Elvis Matopsik when he won I think he won the middleweight belt. I sponsored him for that fight. I've enjoyed a lot of their old fights that they put on, Ryan Jimmo and a bunch of different guys they've had. So that was always seemed like a good value to me. Like sponsoring some of those guys, the price was right, and it was good exposure on Access TV, which I love. That's my favorite channel. No offense, to you guys, but that's I have my DVRs just filled with their programming. I've never been to a kickboxing event. I always wanted to go, and when we're in Europe, I see them, and you'll see the advertisements in Holland and Germany. I saw a big advertisement when we were in Russia. I still got to go. I really wanted to go to the one at Hammerstein Ballroom where Tyrone Spong fought, and I think he's a really interesting, cool specimen right now. Kind of like the Bo Jackson of combat sports. So I want to see what it does on Spike. I'm excited. I have my DVR set to tape it. It's this weekend or it's soon, I think. There's a lot of good, if you like watching people beat the shit out of each other, there's a lot of good stuff this weekend. There's Bradley Marquez, I heard. There's Legacy tonight, which I have Charles Bird, Kid Dynamite, they call him. He's fighting, he's repping Hatewear for us. I have Aaron Rosa in Bellator fighting tonight. I mean, there's a lot of good events coming up. I was hoping to go to Kane and Dos Santos 3, but I just booked a Josta show. I'm playing December 28th with All That Remains up in Northampton. I haven't played this venue in probably 10 years, and it's a legendary venue, Pearl Street in Northampton, Mass. But I was there for 2, and man, you want to talk about, I get goosebumps my hair stands up just thinking about it. That was such a war, and to see it in person, and to see the rival fan bases going back and forth. I mean, that was electric energy. I always say, to people that don't get it, a lot of times people are like, oh, it's just guys laying on each other and sweating on each other. It's like human cockfighting. I deal with that a lot, because it's kind of like the same thing we deal with metal and hardcore. Oh, it's just guys pushing each other and banging their heads. And it's not. It's like the oldest competitive thing that we have in humanity, right? In a way, just like music is back to the tribal times where people were, beating on animal skins and stuff. So I say people, go see it live first and then tell me it's not exciting. We were talking before too about Paul Harris. That fight when Alan Belcher beat him, you want to talk about people going insane in arena, just the energy was electric. I think you should experience that, even if you're not a fan of the sport.
I am just a son, a brother, a father, and a friend. No more, not any less. I am just a...
The last 10 years for women in metal has been really good. You had everybody from Kitty to OTEP to Butcher Babies to Huntress to Lacuna Coil to, now there's so many, and guys are reeling in the creep factor, which is really good. I remember being on tour with a bunch of those bands and seeing guys just being kind of really weird and creepy and saying stuff they shouldn't say in between songs and stuff. Now it's not like that, and hopefully, I don't know how it is in MMA, you know, because I don't follow too much of female MMA. I watched a couple Invicta, like highlights and you know, single fights. I never got the pay-per-view, sorry, but I, you know, watched it on YouTube and stuff, and it seems, you know, like there's a lot of talented, badass women out there that are, you know, throwing down. And I mean, if they need that outlet, if they want to go down that career path, who are guys to say no? You know, it should be equal opportunity. Same with metal, you know. And I think in metal now, you go on YouTube and you see like girls covering like Carcass and like really intricate stuff, and girls are shredding right up there with the guys. More power to them, you know.
Honor, never
I think it's important to just talk to successful people and try to emulate what successful people do. You know, that's it. Especially with young bands, I try to tell them, like, don't listen to the other local bands. Listen, you know, successful people, you'd be surprised, like probably 8 out of 10 times when you approach them and you want a little quick advice, as long as you're not being overbearing or weird, they are willing to give you some very valuable free advice. And I learned that, you know, from talking to like the biggest of big rock stars, saying, you know, can you give any advice here? Like, what do you do with publishing? What should you do with merch? What should you do with the booking agent? What about your manager? You know, and you got to learn. It's not out there. It's not really public information. It's a lot of it's very guarded because it's hard to stay on top in this business. I say if you can make it like 10 years and be on top, then that's a great run, you know. And we're going on like 19 years in November. And, you know, still selling out clubs. At a sold-out show last night. We're going to Brazil, playing with Aerosmith and Slipknot this weekend. We got a big festival we're headlining tomorrow with Obituary and a bunch of bands. And I don't think we've been able to do all this stuff if we didn't absorb some of that knowledge throughout the years and, you know, be respectful, treat the venue, the staff, you know, people at the record label. You know, you got to understand, some of these people at the record label, they might not even like your music. And they don't know if they're going to have a job with all the downloading and with the record industry crumbling. So why are they going to go the extra mile for you if you're a dick, you know? So I think that's the, you know, the main thing I say is like the people you see on the way up are the people you're going to see on the way down. And, you know, there's a lot of MMA fighters that are, they might not have the best record, but they have charisma, they're nice, they're pro, they show up on time, they go to the press conference, they do the interviews, they do the signings, they donate some time to kids and training and stuff. And those are the guys that it doesn't matter what their record is, they're gonna draw people, they're gonna get sponsors, they're gonna do signings at nutrition stores and gyms and training seminars. And you wanna build a brand and be, you know, accountable and relatable and responsible. I've always liked the Diaz brothers, you know, and I think maybe just because I've met them both and I thought, you know, they're really not kind of like how they're perceived in all the marketing and all the promotion for the events, and just the stuff that they do outside of MMA, like I heard Nick like swam to Alcatraz and back, like the rumor mill and the legend alone is like very intriguing and it's fun to follow. But you know, I like Jim Miller a lot. I saw he follows me on Twitter. I always liked Shane Carwin. I always liked Josh Barnett. I always followed him even outside of, you know, the UFC for years and years. Then when I learned he was a metal fan, I was like, man, that makes him even cooler to me, you know. If I had to go back, like, you know, 5, 6, 7 years, I would say Fedor, Crow Cop. I'm coming back around to Roy Nelson. Like, once I watched that Tough, I was like, you know, but then I went and I saw the finale, and it was in a really small venue. I flew out and I got tickets like real last minute, thanks Shanda at the UFC, she's awesome. Who did he beat up? He beat up Matt Mitrione, and it was sick. And I was like 10 rows away, and I was like, man, I love Big Country again. Like that kind of like, you know, got me back into him. That's probably it. I'm not a huge Silva fan. I'm not a huge John Jones fan. Some of the champs, like GSP, I'm not a huge fan. I respect them all, and I love watching their fights, but I'm not like personally intrigued with what's going on with what they're doing, you know? Probably that Palhares Belcher fight, and I would say Kane Dos Santos too. I mean, that was such a war. I mean, I can't say enough about that. I stayed at the MGM, and my key card was the poster for the fight, which was really cool. And I saved like the ticket, and I like, you know, I have a little like MMA scrapbook that I have at home. I mean, I've been to so many. There's Jim Miller and Nate Diaz. That was sad because he lost in his hometown. But who else? God, I don't know. Arlovsky Buonatello, because it was quick, and I was so nervous because I think that was the first time he came out to the song. And I was like, oh God, you know, because the song's called Onward to Victory. I'm like, he's got to win because otherwise the song doesn't mean shit, right? So that was good. Yeah, that's probably it. Well, this tour, you know, when we got back from Europe, I actually went right to Ireland. My father lives in Ireland right now, and I was there for, I don't know, 10 days or something, and I probably gained like 12 pounds in the 10 days. Everything's fried, and everything's like, you know, butter, cream, like they're just big into the dairy and everything there. And when I got back and I started the Guar run, I was sluggish, and I was like, man, I gotta do something. So I just started doing like this little, I think it's like probably 22 minutes of circuits where, you know, you do like 2 minutes of jumping jacks, some sit-ups, 2 minutes of like running in place, some push-ups, 2 minutes of, jump rope. And so I just get my heart rate up, and, you know, I've probably dropped about 5 pounds now since then, since I got back in August. And now I'm really, when I go home, I'm gonna just, you know, really try to get it together, because out here it's tough. You got pizza every night, ice cream, all the stuff you stop in these rest areas, and it's hard. I don't know how these fighters do that. I could never do it. I have no willpower to go through that. But just the pre-show ritual now, I like these Vega products, and I'm a big Monster guy. So like Monster everything, like they have all these new like Monster milk and, you know, low carb things. I'll drink one of those, and I do a little bit of a vocal warm up, but and like, yeah, that's probably about it. But I really got to get it back together. I'm slacking. I gotta tone it down.
There are hearts with hope still beating, waiting for footsteps that might not come.